crystal balls, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please think about sticking around, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. For everybody else, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here for me as I kind of struggle through this journey right now. A lot of you know I have been quite ill, and this has been an uphill battle for me. And I am leaving some of my oopsie doodles and my brain farts in here to kind of show you what it's been like recently. But I just can't thank you enough for being there for me, sending messages, sending happiness, checking on me, continually to watch and comment and subscribe. Guys, that's amazing. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you for the Patreon supports. Thank you for people who are literally just checking on me, guys. It means the world to me. I am truly humbled, and it means the world. I know I still have a wonky schedule, but I am working on it, and I am slowly working towards doing much better. And I know the words are hard right now, but I appreciate you guys. Um, so today I am going to be doing a reading, supposedly entertainment purposes only. Disclaimer, disclaimer, about John Benet Ramsey. Bennet. Sorry, John Bennett Ramsey. Now I know I have a list of other people like Scott and Lacey Peterson. I want to do these. I really do. I have the list, guys. But when I sit down, it doesn't always mean that that particular case is going to come to me, that person's going to come to me. Today it was John Ramsey. So we're just going to roll with it. So again, everything is allegedly for entertainment purposes only. Before I get started, the deck that I am using today is the Dark Mirror Oracle deck. This is not a tarot card deck. This is different. If you want to take a look, there will be a link in the description box. That link is going to be an Amazon associate affiliate thing. So if you guys click that link and make a purchase, that means I get a little bit of money from it. I'm not sponsored. I don't have enough subscribers to have AdSense. So my support comes 100% from you guys, and I highly appreciate it. My Patreons and those who have supported me. I'm just telling you about it. No pressure at all. There's ways, if you read in the description box, that you can definitely support my channel for free, or other things that you can do to help support. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine. Like I said, there's many, many free things that you can do, and I appreciate you guys just hanging out. So, talking about John Ramsey. So I'm not going to go into a crap ton of details about his background. This story has been out for a long time. We'll just go over a little bit of bits and pieces and get into a reading. This most likely will be just part one, and I may use channeling or in a tarot card deck next time, but I wanted to start with a dark mirror because dark attracts dark, but if there is light in this story, that will come through. So John Bennett Ramsey was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and grew up to be a very smart man when it comes to technology and engineering. He also was in, oh my goodness, I believe he served in the Air Force. I know he served, but I can't remember exactly what branch, but I believe it was in the Air Force for at least 3 years. Was active duty, and ended up settling in, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia, which is where they call home. At one point, they did call home. John has been married 3 times. The first was, I believe her name was Lucinda, and they had 3 children together. Unfortunately, his eldest daughter, Elizabeth, died in a car crash at age 19. Now, we are going to put a pin in that and talk about it later, but I do want everybody to take a step back for a moment and just realize that this man has lost two children. From a human perspective, no matter what we think, he has lost two children. And I want to acknowledge that and acknowledge how difficult that must be. I don't know how I would survive. I know many of you do, and I want to know that you're heard, you're seen, you're valid, and your pain, I don't pretend to understand it, but it it's incredibly there. It's incredibly valid, and my heart hurts for you. And from a humanity perspective, my heart hurts for John because of this. Again, we'll put a pin in this. Um, he divorced Lucinda, married Patsy, and was with Patsy until her death. She passed away of ovarian cancer, but this was years later after, the case still had not been solved. And he currently is married to, again, I can't remember if it's either Julia or Jen, but we're focusing on Patsy and Burke and John Bonet. John was a millionaire in the 90s, so I can't even begin to figure out how much money that would be today. He had a lot of money, and the biggest damning thing about this case is the ransom note. And it was so personal and such a small amount of money that just happened to be the amount of John's bonus that year. This will always leave questions in most people's heads. And most people believe that John was involved somehow. So today we're going to take a look and see if that is the case or what we can find. So let's start. I'm going to ask a very simple question because I do not believe the timeline is correct. My question is, did John actually take JonBenet home? No. Okay. So we're just going to go with what we see here. And I apologize, the light is not the best right now. Colorless angel. Just from a perspective of JonBenet, at that time, she was bleached blonde, a very pale little girl. She wasn't necessarily allowed to play outside much, get suntans, yada, 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 but it was also winter, but she was pale. But seeing the colorless angel tells me that she was already dead or drained of life force. This actually makes me, I don't think she was already dead. Drained of life force is probably the best way to put it. I think she was unconscious, and I don't think she ever came home alive. What happened was not supposed to happen the way that it did. Parasite is a strong word. I think the situation is very much what I heard from Patsy, is that JonBenet was being used for purposes that were disgusting. I don't even know if she was looked at as a daughter or a child in these instances. Okay. I'm not saying all of the time, but in these instances, she seemed like a parasite. She seemed like something that I can devoid all of my feelings from. to kind of divorce all of these feelings and reality, so I know I can be okay with what is happening here. Downcast pride. Oh, that oh, that makes me think of Jean Benet herself. I feel this was her. This is her right now in this moment of time on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I think she was fighting back. There's a lot of shame and guilt here from her. Shame and guilt for wetting the bed, shame and guilt for the abuse that was happening to her. And yes, there was abuse happening to her. And that was something that seems like it was pretty well documented. Um, but I just feel like this is her. She was unconscious. She even looked at herself as a parasite, even though that's the view that her dad had of her in these moments. But she was so full of shame. She was so full of shame. And she didn't like herself. And uh I think if she would have lived much longer, things would have gotten a lot worse. She was fighting back, guys. She was fighting back. This wasn't the first time. You know that there was defensive wounds on her. This is not the first time that she fought back, and good for her. Good for her for fighting back. Because I feel like she did. Um Triumph of lies. Now, this makes me 100% believe that this whole situation, this whole timeline, everything was a lie. And look how cold that is. I mean, this to me represents John Ramsey and how he kind of feels like the king here, and how at this point in time, he has gotten away with murder, supposedly, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only. And I'm not saying he's the actual person that killed his daughter. I don't think he was. Um, I'm sorry, that's a lupus thing happening to my hands here. Um, I don't think he physically killed his child, but I do believe he is responsible for it. And I believe he stood by and did not let anything happen. I know the light's kind of shitty right now. Um, that is creepy as shit, to be honest. The child I was meant to be. God, that breaks my heart. Oh, that breaks my heart. John Benet was not meant to be a little beauty queen. I think this was something that she was growing out of, and at one point she was having fun, but I believe there was much more to this girl. Um, her life was taken away from her because of the actions of both of her parents. They took this away from her. She was meant to be so much more than what she was, and they stomped out her light. This child was elevated. She was naturally charismatic, and I believe she would have made a difference in this world. Everybody makes a difference in this world, okay? But everybody makes a difference. And when you have your spot taken from you by murder, by, things out of your own control, when your spot is taken from you, that leaves a hole. It leaves such a it's such a damage on the earth because of your journey. You should have been able to get through your journey and make the difference in the world that you needed to make, good or bad. And I believe Jean Bonnet would have made a difference in this world in a scientific way, in an environmental way. Not in a way that anybody else was imagining her to be, but this tells me that it would have been so much different. So, yes, everybody has their place in the world and everybody is important and everybody has their journey. But when your journeys are taken away from you, this potential, this loss, unfortunately, people harvest that energy. And that's exactly what they did to Jean Bonnet, but I also think they stomped her out before she had the chance because she had such light and beautiful energy. Jesus, that's heartbreaking. Alone in the world. So this picture is basically out in the open, naked and alone in the world, and I believe that is something that Jean Bonnet felt. I know this is supposed to be about John Ramsey, but this is just where we're going, okay? We're going where it takes us. Um, I believe it's almost like I'm naked and afraid or vulnerable. In what I'm going to say here again, allegedly, supposedly for entertainment purposes only, is not going to be good. So if y'all want to, earmuff it for a moment, please do. This is how she was presented as a child to other people. And this is a ring, and this is something that can be proven. There is plenty of information out there about the photography ring that was happening during this time in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado. So you can find the research for yourself, because I don't want to lead people to that kind of crap. It's out there and it has been reported. So if you want to be angry at me, be angry at me, but that is there. It's out there. There is been a ring that was happening with photographers, other pageant children, and other little children were involved. This is almost like a choosing ring. This is what I would equate to a red room. And if you, there are plenty of people who were involved in this situation who were very powerful. I'm not just talking about from the state. There were people from all around, but I'm going to say that there were powerful people within the city who were involved directly in the case, who knew exactly what happened. And it's because of this that they knew, because they were involved in it and not in a sting operation way. So this child was being put on display publicly and privately. Right in a cage. I don't know how much more clear this can get. These children, they were almost used as child brides, I guess is a way that you can put it. And I feel like there were deals made and brokered, and it wasn't just about the children in cages there. I don't know if they were literally in cages, but they were on display for use. And this is where a lot of these business people, like John, were brokering business deals. It wasn't just one thing. It was almost like I am equating this to the ease of the situation for context, not saying that this is what happened or anything like that, okay? And I'm not saying this is easy. But it's like you're, you're several business people going out to dinner and drinks, and while they are doing that, they're also doing deals. They're comparing ideas. It's almost that casual with that sense, even though there's all this going on around them with these children, multiple children, many children. And a lot of these children were the children of these people, high influence families and things like that. Don't you dare think for a second that people with an absurd amount of money aren't trafficking their children. They are. Um, Peaceful among thorns. That just is an eerie calm. Eerie, eerie, eerie calm to me. But I think Jean Bonnet knew she was going to die that night. Um, and I think it's something that was adding up, something that was coming up that she knew about because she was fighting back, and she was also tired. I think she was tired of being used. I think she was tired of everything that was happening to her. And she was starting to split. And when I mean she was starting to split, I think she was starting to split personality wise, because she was still very much developing. I'm not taking this lightly. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing, but this type of abuse that happens all of the time. Repeated trauma is a perfect storm for people with personality disorders to split, or to have something incredibly traumatic happen to them to completely block what is happening. And I think that was happening, was she was blocking and just becoming eerily peaceful, sort of, because that was the way that she was dealing with it. Atonement. Yeah, I've always thought this had to do with some sort of self-sacrificing or punishment. I mean, and this is from John's perspective, not from John Bonet's. John was being held accountable. It was his turn for the sacrifice. Yeah, these people are fucking evil, and they believe in a lot of terrible things. And John is definitely one of them. Patsy knew about it. Patsy was just as guilty, but I don't know if she participated as much as he did, although she did participate. But for some reason, this fell on his back. He had to atone for sins of other people. And he had to do that through his daughter. She basically was the sacrifice for all of them. This case took off a lot of eyes on other things that were happening around. And it was almost like your card was pulled, John. You pulled the short stick, John. It's your turn, John. You have to pay the piper, John. That's what I feel like. It's almost nonchalant about, it's your time. This is what you do. I won't cry for you. Oof. And blood tears. There's no remorse for what happened to Jean Bonnet by the actual person who killed her, and the person who stood by and allowed it to happen. Again, I don't think John actually did the physical act, but I believe he stood by. And I believe that this ultimate betrayal, and Jean Bonnet now being on the other side, She has no forgiveness. And I'm using that word lightly because there's not a really good word for it, but she's not um, remorseful or anything like that towards her father. She doesn't feel any sort of way because she will never give him the satisfaction. That is something that is in a different karmic loop now, and unfortunately, that's a completely different story. But this was a very cold and calculating situation. Very calculated, very cold. And there were no tears shed. I am telling you, he was stone faced as this happened. Stood by, let it happen, was completely stone faced. All right, this is getting to be a very long video. So, last, black flower fragrance. Black flowers in some places are protection, and other places is a sign of death. Since she is covering herself over, kind of her private parts, her breast, I feel like she's trying to protect herself. I feel this is more of a protective thing. I think JonBenet definitely was protecting herself that night, fighting against everything that was happening to her, including whatever drugs they gave her, whatever they did to stun her. It didn't last as long as they thought it was going to. And I think that's part of the stone faced, is because it didn't last. Their plan, their idea of knocking the child out didn't last as long as they thought it was going to. She came out of it, which is why things went the way that it did. But I want you guys to realize that this child was never kidnapped, and she was not killed at the Ramsey residence. She was brought in, and this was staged. I just, this is something that it keeps coming up, but this child was protecting herself, and it wasn't meant to be that way that night. Yes, she was going to die, but it wasn't meant for her to die with her eyes open and understanding what was going on. The significance of the date is important. Christmas. What happened on Christmas in traditional folklore and traditional stories, not just Jesus was born, but also other Egyptian gods and things like that. This is something that is old, that a god, a savior, was born on that day. And it isn't just Jesus. There are other religions that have this same story. People take it very seriously, but what's the upside down? What's the upside down? Is the evil, is the bad one. I don't necessarily believe in a literal devil, but some people do. And I think everything done that day was an upside down reverse ritual for the other side, the dark side, the bad side, whatever you want to call it. And this is just the beginning of the hell that was unleashed because of it. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here because it is long. We will pick up another time. I know this was supposed to be more focusing on John, but I'm just going where it went. So, from Sunny and myself. You guys have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in this world. Remember that every single day is a gift. Use your time wisely. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.